Welcome back to the Shardbreaker podcast. I am your host, Midnight, and I am here with Mythic
Hello.
and Darkness.
Hello.
And this week we had read chapters 22 through 27, six whole chapters. Very exciting. Lots and lots
That's
of stuff
crazy.
happened.
Wait. We weren't supposed to stop at 26? Oh no, I gotta go read a chapter.
uh, so we got two chapters for every character this time, which is kind of
Yeah,
nice.
and a single chapter with like multiple characters.
Well, we had a single chapter where it went to Rowden for like a couple paragraphs and then back to Serene during her chapter. But
Which you
yes.
mean spirit?
Sorry, Spirit. Lord Spirit. Yes, you were correct.
Yeah, there's no
Uh,
rounding in this book.
so chapter 22, because it's a Rowden chapter, we got a new Aeon, which was Aeon Dao, the start of the chapter, which means stability and security. And then so we start with Rowden and Galadon sneaking through the streets of Elantris. Uh, Galadon quickly warns Rowden of a man attacking him, which Rowden just barely avoids. And Galadon then smacks the man with a board in the face and then hits him in the head with a cobblestone, causing the man to not rise again. And they note that Shore's men have been getting more and more bestial lately. And then we learn that Rowden had convinced Galadon to try to sneak into Shore's territory to speak to Shower. They eventually see the bank, which Galadon states he feels is the most likely place for Shower to have his base, as it's quite defensible. And so they sneak in and are shocked to see a young girl with long blonde hair and a pink dress screaming at the top of her lungs for food. And as soon as she sees Rowden, she shouts for the men to kill him. So what were your thoughts on Shower?
Yay. I mean, like, I expected, like, difficulties, right?
Yeah,
But not a child, you know?
some little girl who's just screaming. What about you, Mythic?
I mean, I didn't expect it to be a child either, but I did expect them to be like, kill him,
Yeah.
murder
Uh,
him.
yeah, she's like, kill them. This little girl.
It's
Uh,
midnight.
wow.
Agree. Probably about as tall too.
I would never wear pink.
Uh-huh. Sure.
So once Rowden and Galadon have escaped the bank, Rowden explains that he knows the girl as Lord Telry's daughter. That's a bit of a shock. So that's the guy that's working with Harathan and wants to be the next king.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Uh,
Yeah,
and
you didn't put that together, did you, Darkness?
No, I don't remember his name.
yeah,
Later on in the
I I
chapters,
only
he's
I
like,
yeah, I only put it together after later when comes up again.
yeah, when he comes, the thing is, when he comes up again, I still don't know who he is.
yeah, I know there's a lot of different noble names, which is why I like to sometimes point out, like, oh, this guy's this person, remember? So
Yeah, that's
this is
probably the best option.
the
Hmm.
daughter of the guy who likes to flaunt his wealth, and Harathan is trying to make the next king. So apparently she never grew hair as a child, so her dad had a wig made for her, and apparently they didn't take it from her when she went into Elantris, and so she's apparently been in Elantris for 2 years. Uh, and the Elantrians that had joined her, Radin says they seem to treat her like a god. I think they were like bowing to her and stuff, and so he says
She
they
is
have
a
like
god.
so they're like, oh, they must see that
She
she
has
has
hair.
hair.
Yeah, she has hair. She's a god.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in Elantris, it's pretty fucking unique to have hair.
Yeah, I know, right? Like the mustache.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, did you have any thoughts about the fact that they kind of like went back to this, as Rowden says, like simplistic religion type thing where they were just worshiping this girl?
I mean, everything seems pretty simple about them, so.
Do you have any thoughts, Darkness?
Uh, just like I mean, I don't see why they would think she's a god, but like, maybe it's just like something to focus on.
Yeah, and I think I don't remember if it's this chapter or one of the other chapters, but Rowling kind of says like these men have kind of like reverted to more primitive states to kind of combat the pain, unlike his people, where they're kind of like focusing on like working and trying to be more like normal to less focus on the pain. So it's just different ways of
To be
coping.
fair, they are focusing that way, like Rowden's people, because of Rowden. So
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
it's like there's not much of a difference there. Besides the fact that one of them has hair, you know.
And also like the like mindset, like as they said, the guys are kind of more like animals that follow Shower.
Hmm.
I'm also curious where the name Shower came from. Like who named her that?
Someone who doesn't really understand how to name children.
Well, no, I don't. I think Rowden says it's not her real name.
It's not. He said it was. He said it was something.
He said he
But
didn't remember her name because it had been a couple years. But
yeah, but he had like an idea, like
Yeah, since her death. But,
of what was it Aeon? I don't know what it started with.
um, where is it? I can look it up quickly. For 2 years ago, he says it was based on Aeon soy, so like soy or
Yeah,
something like that.
soy sauce.
Yeah,
yeah,
so
that's her
she's
name.
soy
Soy
sauce.
sauce. Yeah, her name is soy sauce.
Uh, so, but yeah, so they'd been talking, and then Rowden was leaning against, or like, sorry, gripping a marble wall, which apparently just like pretty much instantly crumbles in his hands. And he says he notes that it seems like the absence of door has left the city like a hollow shell, the stone being weakened from the lack of door that had been infusing it for so long. Did you have any thoughts about how the like even marble is like crumbling away in Elantris after only 10 years?
No, I don't even remember that, to be honest.
Well, if it was like reinforced by their magic, then it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Because most things wouldn't need upkeeping if they have that, like like potential to just like apparently like keep stuff going with just their magic.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's gone, then obviously it's all gonna go to hell.
Yeah. So then his conversation with Galadon is interrupted by Maresh saying they've been invaded by a princess. And then we skip to Rowden and Galadon on a rooftop they'd made into an observation platform to watch the gate for newcomers originally. And they see Serene and several nobles with a horse-drawn cart. Rowden notes how beautiful she is and points out who she and the men are to Galadon, although Galadon does know of Shuden as apparently his trade routes go through Duladel. And Serene then reveals that the cart is full of food. Galadon instantly looks hungrily at the pile of food, and Rowden explains how this is trouble, as once the widow's trial is over, people will be focused on their hunger again, and it could cause everything they've worked for to go to waste. He also worries about what might happen if one of Shore's men kills one of the nobles. So I mean, we kind of know how her widow's trial is going throughout these chapters, but what do you think might happen once the widow trial is over?
Um, so I was thinking there's like two main possibilities in my head.
Hmm.
So a lot of the people that we eventually learn have left, Radin and his group,
Hmm.
um, are gonna try and rush back. Or it's just gonna be utter chaos where there's like even more fighting because they got used to the food.
So you think they're
So
one of the possibilities is that their hunger is going to get way worse because they were used to being fed?
yeah,
Mm.
I mean, I agree with that.
Is that your thought then, Mythic, as well?
Yeah, I mean, I
because
definitely think they're. I think the people that they're holding at bay at the moment are going to somehow get through. But
because if the reason I'm also thinking about the first option that I said where they all come back is like you know no it would be like even more interesting because I feel like even more people than what left would be coming back to them.
Oh, so you think it might actually be beneficial and more people
Yeah,
end up
like that's what I was trying to say. It's because I was gonna say it, but like I had like blanked real quick. Yeah, so I feel like it's gonna work in their favor, and they're
Mm.
not gonna have expected that because Rodden really thinks it's gonna go like bad.
Yeah, he's concerned for sure.
Hmm.
So they then go down to meet with Maresh, and they hear Serene shout that she wants to meet with the gang leaders. He says he needs Karada, and then he wants Maresh to pretend to be Andon. He also asks for Shaolin and his guards to keep an eye out for Shower's men. And then we move to chapter 23, which is Serene's point of view. And it's noted that Eondel and Shuden had insisted on going with her to meet with the gang leaders, and that Eondel has a sword with him. Rowden is leading them through the city, although they don't know it's him. And then they reach the university. So Serene is a bit nervous about going in as the building looks on the verge of collapse, but she enters anyways. And considering what we knew that Tan did to the structural support of the roof here, were you expecting something to happen with them all in there?
The ceiling falls in and they all die. Woo!
You know, I took a like I took that in right into
Mhm.
account, and then I just completely glossed over it after. I was like, it's fine, everything's fine.
My thoughts were like, why are they using the university building? This seems like a horrible idea. I feel like someone's gonna lean against a pillar the wrong way and the whole thing's gonna collapse.
That'd be great.
Everybody dies. Woo!
So Serena meets Karada and Mresh, who is pretending to be Andon. They claim they formed an alliance and that they killed Shor. Serene has been ready to speak to leaders separately, but changes her plans as they're now allied. She bluntly says she wants to bribe them and asks what it will take for them to allow her to feed the people of Elantris freely. So Creta has a list of demands, which include cloth, various grains, worked metal sheets, lengths of wood, straw, and oil, all of which Shuden writes down for Serene. And Serene asks if this is all, and Creta says it's all for the first few days. She then makes Creta promise that they won't keep anyone back. Did you have any notes about Creta's demands there or no?
Uh, no, but I find it funny that she says don't keep anybody back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
I was just wondering what would happen if like if they decide, you know what, I want livestock, and
Uh,
gets brought into the city, and then everybody's just staring at it like hungry. The,
I don't feel like the livestock would. It'd be very hard to protect the livestock.
yeah, yeah.
Also, like, I feel like it would be more dangerous than the vegetables and stuff, because, like, what if you have, like, a chicken? What if the chicken, like, pecks you? Then you have to feel that peck for the rest of your life.
Oh, no.
no, they need to
It,
get horses so they can be cavaliers.
Oh, yeah, because falling off a horse wouldn't just be horrible.
Don't fall off.
The horse is just slipping and sliding all over the grime covered streets.
Yep.
So we then briefly get Rowden's point of view. Maresh asks if he did well, and Rowden says he did perfectly. Rowden and Kreta kind of share a look when Maresh says he had tried to be a decisive and intimidating leader. 'Cause apparently he was not. And Galda notes that Serene suspects something and asks why they didn't bring Serene to New Elantris. Rowden says that he can't let people outside Elantris know their new society, as they're only left alone because people pity them. Rowden ends his section uh, stating that he wants to keep an eye on Serene and be at all her distributions. So do you think Rowden should have let Serene know what was going on, or is Rowden correct to keep it a secret?
Oh, he's correct. I think he's correct. It would be very stupid to let them know your plans because I mean I feel like they're going to overthrow the government at some point,
Hmm. What do you think,
or
Darkness?
at least create their own government.
Mm-hmm.
did I misunderstand the question? Can you repeat it?
Do you think Rowden should have let Serene know about what is going on, or is Rowden correct to keep like New Elantris a secret?
Okay, okay. Um, I mean, I don't think it would have harmed him, to be honest.
Well, I think his biggest concern is it getting out about New Elantris because he's worried that
Yep.
like people are gonna come attack them. Like if Iodon and like all sorts of other people hear about it, they're gonna be like, uh, right now they're like, oh, they're these like pitiful like wretches in the street. But if they're like creating a society, they're gonna be like, what if they try and fight back against us? What if like that's what Rowden's worries are.
Yeah, I was thinking more of like the Tell Serene Olis or
Yeah,
the route.
I think if he did tell her, he'd have to trust that her and I guess Iandel and Shuden would keep it a secret.
Yeah.
Although he does know at least the nobles and stuff. It's like, I guess does he trust them enough that they wouldn't say anything, right, and let it get out?
I mean, I feel like he could if he just told them that he was Bowden.
Yeah, right.
Like, I mean, they definitely love that man. Like,
Yeah.
all he has to do is prove he's Rowden, and they probably would do whatever the heck he wanted.
Well, I think also though, I think he brings up in maybe his other chapter or something that he's like worried about what they would do for him if they found he was routing. Cause he's like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them to rebel, and then again, people like Iodon and like his guards and everything to come and try and take over Elantris because he's gonna worry about like people coming to me. Lots of things going on in Rowden's head.
Yep, for good reason too.
Even if his brain doesn't work.
So we then move back to Serene's point of view, and she mentions how she doesn't like working with the gang leaders based on what she's heard about them from the city guards. Shuden seems to be giving the leaders the benefit of the doubt, saying they look just as bad as the rest of the Elantrians. They then begin unloading the cart of all the boxes of food. Royal, however, doesn't, as he apparently had fallen one morning and been walking with a limp. And after a bit, Serene noticed that Spirit had joined them and was also unloading boxes. At one point, Serene slips and Spirit catches her, warning her it takes practice to walk in Elantris. The Elantrians then stay on the perimeter of the area at first until Rowden takes a bite of a turnip, then they surge forward to get food. Serene notices that he seems just as ravenous as the rest of the Elantrians. During them handing out the food, she also realizes that Spirit is likely one of the leaders of the gangs. What do you think about Serene realizing so quickly that Spirit is one of the leaders?
I mean, we already know she's a smart cookie, so.
I don't. You know, to be fair, after all these chapters, I really like my view on her kind of went down.
Oh, really?
What?
Because of a little later.
Hmm.
I'll explain.
Okay, you can
Oh,
explain later.
okay.
So we then skip to Serene and Ash alone. She speaks about how she thinks Spirit is one of the leaders and wants Ash to go back into Elantris to try and learn more. Apparently, Ash hadn't tried talking to the Elantrians lately, as they wouldn't do much talking, and the guards had been much more free with information. Serene then thinks to herself Spirit had seemed genuine and that it had been hard to keep remembering that he was a tyrant and murderer. She notes that he had seemed concerned about what she thought of him, and she insists in her own mind that she doesn't care what he thinks of her. Um, do you have any thoughts about Serene being so quick to like be trustful of Spirit, even though she doesn't feel like she should be?
He's Rowden, so I mean, she should trust him.
Maybe he like subconsciously reminds her of him. So
Yeah, that was always kind of my thoughts. Is that she, I think, subconsciously is just like this guy seems trustworthy because of all her conversations with Rowden. She's just not really putting it together why she trusts him. And then we have chapter 24, where we move on to Harathan's point of view. He's watching Serene hand out food to the Elantrians from up on the wall. There are lots of others up on the wall as well who are watching with disappointment as Harathan's devils patiently get their food and don't attack anyone. Eventually, people begin to go down the wall, and Harathan does as well. Uh, do you think this is going to really affect Harathan's plans, with all the people being so disappointed that the Elantrians aren't so evil and devilish?
I don't know. After his 8-hour stint, we'll find out.
I I think it's already starting to like affect it, and he's seeing it. The yeah.
I mean, that's definitely not the worst thing that she's doing against him, but
Yeah, she's really
I
fucking
feel
with
like
all
he
his
was,
plans.
yeah, I feel like he was a little naive in the thought process.
I think Hrathen's just a lot of naive and everything, to be honest.
I mean, he seemed pretty smart originally, but
I
definitely
think
kind
it's
of
more he
seems
got
like
like complacent. He's like had such an easy time obviously converting a bunch of other countries.
yeah. And then here comes this little girl to fix or to ruin all of your plans.
Not only that, he's having a difficult time with Dilaf. So
Yeah, I think Delof is also like getting to him a lot, so he's like he's
Oh, I
not been
forgot
able to
about
focus.
Olaf. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I think he's not been able to focus on one thing or another. He's been like kind of split between the two, where it's like I need to focus on Delof, I need to focus on Serene, I need to focus on like my timeline.
and also that one motherfucker who was like, "You sure you believe in this?"
Yeah, Omen.
Yeah,
He's his mind's caught up in a whole bunch of different stuff, and I think it's he's just not been able to like
I think he
really
needs to
focus.
sit down, and here's where the therapy starts in this kingdom.
I think he needs to sit down and pray.
I mean, he does that later.
I know.
So once Harathan is back down into the streets, Lord Tellery comes up to Harathan in a carriage. Harathan gets in the carriage and they begin to discuss Serene's widow's trial. Harathan tells Tellery not to worry about it and that they can focus on Iadon and his lack of trading outside of Teod. Which, I mean, we know later is not going great either. He also says he can get Tellery a lucrative contract with the East. Tellery then makes Harathan walk the rest of the way to the chapel, which annoys Harathan. He's like, you should respect me more, fuck you. So do you think these lucrative trading deals may get Telri ahead of Iadon at some point? Like, we know that obviously, based on further chapters, that Iadon is doing okay, but do you think these trading deals might somehow be able to pull Telri ahead again?
Possibly.
I don't think so. I think he's gonna like try his hardest and fail and like piss off Arathan.
Try your best, but you don't succeed.
So when he gets back to the chapel, he hears some priests speaking with Dilaf about the number of conversions to the church. Dilaf says that just after the pirate Driok Crushthroat attacked, conversions had surged as well. This causes Harathan to realize that Dilaf is much older than he looks, which Harathan had originally assumed the man's age to be around 25. He also notes that he is struggling to get ahead Arteth and is sure Dilaf is the reason. So I was just curious, how old did you guys think Dilaf was?
I thought
Thousands
he
of
was.
years.
I thought he was in like his early 20s.
I don't know why. Maybe it was just from me like subconsciously remembering this part, but like I had forgotten that he like was supposed to look a lot younger, and I had always pictured him as like 30s or 40s at least.
Huh.
I don't know if that's just me like remembering that he's actually older than he is, or if I just, for some reason, he just gives me the
It's
vibes
because
of an older person.
I see him as like. Well, I used to see him when he got first introduced
Hmm.
as like a sort of like naive like follower.
Mm,
So I think that just kind of stuck to me.
that's fair. Yeah, that's apparently how we were supposed to think of him. Like you thought, Darkness, where he was supposed to be like young, and then yeah, we learned that he's actually just like one of those people who like apparently looks young until they like turn 80, and then they're suddenly like 5,000 years old looking. Do you think he's like quite old, Mythic?
I mean, I did. I think he's extremely old.
Do you think he's
What
older
if
than
he's an
Harathan?
original Elantris? Oh, what'd you say?
I said, do you think he's older than Harathan?
Mm, I don't know. That man's pretty old.
I think Harathan's supposed to be in his 40s.
Yeah, he's old. Super old. I don't know. No, probably not.
Mm,
I'd say like mid 30s, or yeah, mid to late 30s.
mm. So Harathan thinks about the fact that Delof had mentioned how his converts had come with him to Kay, sorry, and wonders how long ago that was and how much influence Delof has gained over the years. He then thinks that he can face outside forces like Delof and Serene, but worries about the inside forces. He pulls out an old journal and reviews it, and in his head hears Omen questioning his faith. He notes that he'd begun thinking of his sermons and preaching as logical challenges instead of a spiritual quest. He notes that the younger Harathan had a burning flame of spirituality, whereas now is just a comforting warmth. He wonders if he was converting Erelon for the challenge or to save the people. He also wonders if Dilaf is right for trying to oust him, and if Dilaf would be a better person to convert Erelon. So I had a couple questions here. The first one was, are you surprised Harathan is questioning his faith?
No.
Not at all.
So I feel like after the end of last chapter, you guys didn't think he was going to, or at least one of you didn't think he was going to question his faith much. And the second question was, do you think he is correct that based on what his goals are, and not what's good for the people of Erelon, but do you think he's correct that Dilaf would make a better leader in terms of Harathan's quest?
Yeah.
In terms of like following the religion, probably.
Yeah, in terms of the whole like Warren says you must convert these people type thing, like ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it'd be good for the people of Erelon for Dilaf to be in charge, but
No.
Sure.
But as for the the religion wise, yeah.
yeah. So then we move to chapter 25, and we get a new Aeon again because it's Rowden's chapter, and we got Aeon Alla, meaning beauty and handsomeness. So it's about a week later, and Terena, which is Ahan's daughter, was helping distribute the food today and was apparently the only woman who agreed to come help so far, and only because Shuden would be there. Rowden notes that Serene has softened towards him but still acts cold, not wanting to be too friendly. And Rowden also notes how much it hurts to see his friends and them not know who he is and not being able to properly talk to them. He isn't surprised they don't recognize him, though, considering his physical changes and his attempts to change his mannerisms as much as possible. He notes that he gravitates towards Serene partially to keep his identity hidden, but also because he was curious how they would have gotten along. He notes that he does really like her. He likes her strong-willed personality and respects the way the nobles defer to her. So did you have any thoughts about how
She's
well?
smart.
Yeah, did you have any thoughts about them getting along?
I mean,
Wait, him and Serene?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I figured they talked all the time. They probably get along.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But like he's saying, like even without like the political side of it now, because
Hmm.
I guess he was kind of like we were both probably being quite polite and maybe not have been our full selves because we knew it had to work. But even in this situation, it's like they seem like a good match.
I mean, they definitely seem like a good match.
I think it also notes at one point that he's slightly taller than her, which I think she would really like because she's always like, "Oh, I'm so fucking tall."
How tall is he? What the fuck?
She's a tall woman. Okay, that's why Midnight tries to be her.
Wait, no,
Wow.
do you know how?
I don't know if they give an actual height. I'm assuming she's probably around 6 feet, so he's probably like a bit over 6 feet at the very least.
That's crazy. I forgot tall people like that exist.
Like that, okay? Because you guys are both short, so.
Yeah, I don't think they
First of
ever
all,
give like proper heights.
I'm like perfect height.
For what?
Anyway,
Yeah, Yeah, maybe for that, but
Yeah, I don't think there's any sort of actual height that they
yeah.
give. Um, but yeah, so Rowden then also notes that Lord Telry is there, although he has a manservant doing the work for him, and he just kind of is watching, so he's like, I'm not fucking lifting a hand. And Rowden also notes that in the past he had tried to get Lord Telry's support, I guess to join like that group of nobles he had been pitting against Iadon, but Telry had just asked how much Rowden had been willing to pay for his support, and Rowden had just kind of stalked off, being like, fuck you, dude. Because Telry's all about the money.
Yeah, fuck you, I pay you nothing.
Yeah. So Rowden then goes around and shakes hands with all the new nobles that were visiting Elantris for the first time. Seeing a fairly normal Elantrian seemed to ease their nerves, and they began to help instead of just standing frozen. Thinks about how odd it is to be participating in something that is destroying what he was working toward, but they do need the supplies that Serene is providing.
Mm-hmm.
A Sunwave.
Desperately need the supplies.
They do, because everything's fucking rotted and broken in Elantris. There's only so much you can do with grime and rotted wood and stone. So he gets a sudden wave of pain striking him, and Rauden notes that his pain has been accelerating faster than anyone else's. He felt like he'd been in Elantris for a year instead of a month. He then also wonders if maybe he actually has the same amount of pain as everyone else, but he's just weaker. Did you have any thoughts about this? Do you think the pain is stronger for Rauden, or is he just like has very less pain tolerance?
I think it's the amount of fucking times he's tried to use that magic.
You think the magic
Yeah.
is causing his pain?
Yeah. Cause I think it's like jump starting. Like it's trying to like, work. And so it's like using like a minimal amount of, like of what it's like, igniting that,
Hmm.
which is what I think is helping keep away the pain, but you know.
Yeah, because he does state later that doing the Aeons like helps distract him from the pain. But do you think it's like also somehow like maybe when he's not doing them, it's causing the pain to feel worse?
Yeah.
Possible.
And you said you also kind of thought it was because of the Aeons mythic?
Well, I mean, I think it's just him in general, but could be
He's just
possibly.
weak.
I mean, I don't. That's not where really what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking like he's weak. It was more of just like I feel like he's different.
Hmm. He also
What
says
if he's
how
like,
it's weird that it comes in waves to him when everyone else just says it's just like a consistent
yeah.
pain.
Hmm.
Like they don't get these like sudden waves of it and then
Yeah,
are able
I
to
feel
push
like
it back.
he's just different.
Special.
Yeah, special. Yeah, he sits on that short bus.
Oh.
So Radin pushes away his pain and focuses on giving out sacks of food to the Elantrians, which contain Gidoni's sour melon, which apparently aren't supposed to be ripe yet, but somehow they'd gotten some steamed corn, various vegetables, and a small loaf of bread. It's also noted that members of Rowden's crew would secretly be handed bags 5 times the size so that they could try and feed the Hoed to see if that helped them recover more. So do you think the Hoed will begin to recover more as they are given food? Because we already know that they're kind of being a bit more, like, at least quiet as they're spoken to each day. Like, they seem to be less horrible. I don't know how to word it. With people visiting them frequently. So do you think the food will eventually work for them?
One can only hope.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I think it's something else that's gonna happen, which we'll
Yeah,
get into later if
I
I
think
have.
they're going to ascend into godhood.
Mm.
I, you know, I have something like that in mind, but not them ascending into godhood. We're like, Rauden finding a way to like,
To sacrifice them and turn into godhood. Yeah,
uh,
100%.
sure,
Well,
Yeah.
we'll get. I'm sure I know exactly the point you guys are gonna want to talk
Hmm.
about these sorts of things. So we'll get there. We'll get there later.
Yep. We're gonna sacrifice. We shall put them into the water and sacrifice them.
Into the lake that's not
No,
really
the
much of a
water.
lake.
The
um,
kiddie pool. We're gonna put them in the kiddie pool.
the kiddie pool. Um,
I would have laughed if. Never mind. I'll save it for the chapter.
yeah.
Oh
Well,
my
I mean, it's this
god.
chapter. It's just later in this chapter. But yeah, so we then skip to the group of nobles leaving. Rauden asks if Galadon and Maresh had thought of a better way to transport the supplies they'd be given. Because apparently the last few times they'd had to carry the boxes one at a time to New Elantris, which had been hard on their weakened muscles. This time Maresh has a metal sheet made into a sled and greased on the bottom. The sled works fairly well until the grease begins to wear off, and they get to New Elantris where the streets aren't coated in grime. Galadon even says Maresh finally did something useful, and Maresh seems proud that because now Galadon never compliments him. Uh, so my little question here is just, are you happy to see Galadon seeming to get along with someone other than Rauden for once?
I mean, that's an odd statement because I don't feel like he's getting along with him. I think he's placating him.
I was gonna say I don't think they're getting along like that.
I don't know. I kind of felt like it was them getting along. I was kind of just like, oh, Galadon's actually giving the pessimistic Galadon's finally like giving someone a compliment.
uh,
I found it sweet. Galadon's breaking out of his shell a little bit. He talks to Karada, he complimented Maresh kind of. Things are going well for him. Anyways, you guys can disagree.
Sure.
That was just my thought on it. It's not. It's just a random thought I had. I was like, oh, Galadon's getting along with someone. Anyway, so they open up one of the boxes, which apparently has a bunch of garish orange cloth. Apparently, Serene had been constantly doing her best to fuck with their demands, and they had been trying to word the requests in a way that she couldn't mess with. In another box was a bunch of bent nails, as they had asked for their steel and weight, since last time they'd asked for sheets, and it had been pounded so thin it basically floated, is how they described it. Also given to them this time was stale food, pungent smelling oil, and handleless knives. Apparently she hadn't figured out yet that they needed the wood from the crates, though, and hadn't done anything to those. So, what do you think about this game that Serene is playing with the gang leaders?
It's that that low-key made me a little upset. Like I know it's supposed to be like, I'm gonna fuck with these people cause yeah, right?
Well, she thinks they're
But
like
like,
horrible people that are keeping things from all the other people, and they're like tyrants. So
I
she's like,
mean,
yeah,
they are though. They're tyrants, evil dictators.
obviously they're making everyone starve while they live in luxury.
Yeah, luxury.
which is actually not that far off to be honest.
I mean, they've
No, I
invited
mean
everyone who wants to join.
they got the nice place, no grime covered. Oh, they're making food soon.
They got a closet full of bodies.
Yeah, exactly.
They got a hall of bodies that they talk
They got
to.
a kid. They got a kiddie pool.
They just discovered the kiddie pool.
Yeah, they
It's
still got it.
new addition. Um, anyway, so notes how before Serene had begun bringing food, they had over 100 people living in New Elantris, and now they only had about 20, not counting children and the Hoed. Most of the people who had stayed were the people they had rescued, as they didn't really know anything else. He then wonders if Serene realizes that the Elantrians consume the food within minutes of receiving it instead of using it for the 3 meals as expected, then just wait until she returns and they do nothing else. Apparently Rowden had worried that their stomachs would explode, but apparently once they get full enough, their digestive systems begin working again. So are you surprised that so many of the new Elantrians left and just became like kind of like normal Elantrians again?
You think they shit?
Hmm?
You think they shit?
Yeah, if their digestive systems are working, they definitely shit.
Wait, so it starts working, which means like they're not completely dead then.
Well, I mean, just like their muscles still work if they're used. Like they can move around and stuff.
Well, I mean, for that to work, it takes more than just muscle memory.
Yeah. Well, he was comparing it to the muscles. He's like, if you're using them, they will work. And so if your stomach gets full, your digestive system will start to work. So, but yeah, at least their stomachs don't explode.
Okay, then what if you inject water into one of their veins and just like
These
the
are
heart
all
start?
experiments we need to have.
Yeah.
Mythic the
We need to
mad
go to
scientist is
Elantris.
back.
We need to go to Elantris, and we just need to dissect these people.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure D-Laf
I
would
low
love
key
to do
would.
that.
Yeah, I'll get him on board. All he's
No,
gonna kill him.
nah. This is not even like a question of like being evil against them or like rude or like anything like that. It's just like you gotta know how it works.
Yeah,
Oh my
exactly.
gosh.
And if I get D-Loft to come, mutilate the corpse a little bit, I can figure out some things off of that.
Yeah.
And he gets his mutilization. Win-win.
Because then we have hosts to work with as well.
Yeah, we got all them hoes.
Oh my gosh.
I got hoes in this court. I got hoes in this court.
So they then run into Maresh, who's scrubbing away with a brush he'd gotten. And he doesn't notice that he no longer has assistants. He's just happy to do his cleaning thing. So he glances at them and chastises them for not changing into the new outfits Mare had made them. And then we skip to them being dressed in their ridiculously covered outfits. I think they're like weirdly striped in all sorts of like clashing colors, and it's just a mess. But
Which
they're
is
at least
great.
clean. They're clean and newish. They're not like their grime-covered, tattered Elantrian clothes.
It comes from uh-oh.
Hmm?
I forgot the name of that one city we read about.
Which one?
The
Taldor.
last book one.
Oh, in the last book, Tetelier?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it comes from there.
With all the
Taldor.
bright
The colors.
colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, from
Shit.
Taldor.
um, so, yeah, so they're at least clean, though. And then they head over to the Hall of the Fallen and see Karada sewing up a large gash in Saulin's arm. Sauron explains how he tripped and that he got attacked by one of Shower's men.
And his sword carrying arm.
Yeah, specifically his sword-carrying arm is not great.
No, because when this happened, I almost cried.
I
He's
know,
like
you
one
were...
of my favorite characters, and I was like, fuck.
Last episode, you were like, Sauron's my favorite, and this episode, it's like, yeah, he's injured. Pretty bad.
Pretty mortally injured. He'll never fight again. He's gonna
If
die soon.
he is gonna die, I can feel it.
Yeah, maybe the kiddie pool will heal him though.
The kiddie pool's gonna. Never mind.
Anyway, so apparently Sauron and his men had been keeping Shore's men from attacking the nobles each day when Serene and them come to distribute the food. And apparently Sauron also lost another man and mentions how Shore's men had been taking the swords of the fallen soldiers and using them. So what do you think is going to happen if Sauron and his guards keep getting injured like this?
Well, the people will break through the lines, and then Serene will get attacked, and then somebody will have an issue with that.
And then,
There'll be a
and then,
war,
and then
and then
Sauron's
we're gonna
gonna
have to
die.
break the war.
Vasher
And
will
then
show
Sauron's
up.
gonna die.
Yeah,
And then I'm
we're
gonna
gonna we're
die.
gonna need a war breaker. Go ahead, Darkness.
Yes.
I think he was saying Sauron's gonna die and he's gonna be upset.
Oh well, yeah. Can't be as upset as I was about Lightsong.
And then Rowden's gonna be a widow, and then you know,
Raoden's gonna be the widow instead of Serene being the widow.
now they can be widows together.
Widows together. So Raoden wonders if there is a way to get through to Shower's men, since they don't seem completely like beasts if they're using... Oh, wait. Oh, I completely missed a line where I was saying that Sauron, Shower's men had been taking the swords of the fallen soldiers and using them. So Raoden wonders if there's a way to get through to Shower's men, since they don't seem completely like beasts if they're using swords, but says no to the idea of letting them into the courtyard for the city guard to deal with. He says he feels like Serene needs to acclimatize nobles to Elantris for some reason. Can't let Shore's men through to attack them because of this. He tried to probe for information, but she won't give him anything. We then skip to Raoden practicing drawing Aeontia, and Galadon had apparently stopped questioning him on this, and Raoden found that the process of practicing helped keep him distracted from his pain. Raoden then asked Galadon about the crops, which apparently are wilting slightly, but Galadon says they'll live. Apparently, like, all his workers are gone, so he's been having to, like, carry a bunch of buckets of water using a leaking bucket to and from the well. And Galadon says he needs fertilizer, but Raoden kind of says no to a bunch of options and suggests fish, because asking for the fertilizer would be too obvious that they're growing stuff.
Why don't they ask for a bucket?
I think they did. I think that the leaking bucket is from Serene.
Oh,
Because she's been fucking
Yeah,
with their stuff.
because Serene. You gotta look at it this way, though, right? She's got to go back and get this approved, most likely, to be like, here's stuff, and who's gonna just hand the Elantrian shit,
Yeah.
like
what
good
if
stuff?
what if it's not actually like her playing games or like her getting improved shit? What if it's like, ah, fuck, I'm broke and I need this shit on sale.
I mean, I think they say at one point, like, Serene is like, oh yeah, Raoden thinks it's funny that, like, I seem to be getting all this garish clothing on discount or something. He's like, you must be saving great money. I'm sure these cloths
For
weren't
real.
selling well. So yeah, I mean, maybe
That's
she's just
great.
trying to conserve money. She's like, okay, well, let's take this broken bucket that no one wants from the trash, and we'll buy the
Yeah,
discounted cloth.
it's
we'll,
just the slaves in Elantris. We don't have to worry about them.
we'll take all these bent nails that no one wants.
They're not bet because like she didn't get them bet. She was like like pulling them out of like structures and shit,
Yeah,
and they got that on
she
the way
went into
out.
that city where the beggars are, where everything's like been abandoned, and like started just like pulling apart like broken buildings and getting nails out of them.
I fucking love this. Uh,
This is actually just her being like, the king's not giving me much access to my fortune that Raoden left me. I'm doing the best I can here. I only get like an allowance
yeah.
of whatever per week.
Oh my god. I would love if this was like actually happening.
um. So, and then so my question after that section though was, do you think Galadon is going to be able to keep these crops alive on his own without his workers? So they're already wilting a little.
I think yeah. I think yeah. Hmm.
Think he's a good farmer?
I think he's able.
What do you think, Mythic?
Ask the question again. Sorry.
Uh, do you think Galadon's going to be able to keep the crops alive?
No, but not because he's not a good farmer, but because I think the area is like tainted in some way, shape, or form.
You think the soil's affected just like the rest of
I think,
Elantris?
yeah, I think all of Elantris is cursed in some way. Like it's dying.
Mm.
That's a lot more. At least for me, it's a lot more evident later when they get to the kiddie pool. So
All right.
What if he's sabotaging the?
You think Galadon would be sabotaging?
It's
I
a
mean,
possibility.
I originally thought Galadon was a bad person, but I don't know about that anymore.
Uh,
Especially when he comes out with his actual like genuine who he is.
yeah. Well, that's what we thought about a lot of people in the last book.
I know, but give everybody the benefit of the doubt, all right?
Never, never, never again.
Okay. I mean, I didn't like I didn't like Blue Fingers from the start, if you remember, because that man it just seemed very weird to me. But he was kind of growing on me until he became a bad guy.
Spoilers, by the way. No, I'm joking.
I mean, we've already gone through that
We
book. It's not
covered it.
spoilers.
We covered that book.
If
Yeah, but doesn't
if
mean
they're
they
listening
can't
to
Go
start.
listen to the podcast.
no
They
one's
can't
listening to the
start.
podcast from like part way through. It's starting at Elantris. They're like, nah, you gotta start with Warbreaker if you're going in because we're
Nah.
obviously
What if they're
talking
like
about.
not? What if they don't like that book and they're just like, you know what? Let's start with this one.
Well, then go listen to our podcast on the other one. Because unfortunately, I don't give a shiz about no spoilers.
Yeah, if we've covered it, there's gonna be spoilers. Get fucked.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
damn. The disrespectful.
So Rowden then begins speaking of a case in one of his books where a woman had come for healing, but something had gone wrong and her skin had become blotchy, and she eventually threw herself from a roof, complaining that the pain was too much. Rowden notes that a
Yeah.
basic line had been omitted, and instead of just not working, it had seemed to work but just not finish working. The train of thought caused Rowden to think that possibly they aren't dead, they're just unfinished. They're stuck in a state of timelessness where the door is waiting for the final instruction to complete their transformation. This was a big part that I was kind of like, yeah, what are your thoughts about Rowden's theory here? And like what do you think this means for the book and like if they're going to be able to ever fix themselves?
I think there's a large possibility that they are, and the fact that he spoke about them being unfinished, right?
Hmm.
And didn't make any sort of connection to the fucking flying light fairy things that he was like, oh, they're unfinished. Like,
The
what?
Aeon.
Yeah.
Well, I think he said like there was blotches on the Aeon as well, which was like causing a disruption. Or was there also like their lines were faded? I don't remember. I'd have to
No,
re-look through.
he said it looked like the Aeon was broken or like unfinished.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know because I made a comment about how he should have just pinned it down and finished the Aeon.
Right, yeah, I do remember that. So what do you
There's
think
connections
is
there.
unfinished here? Like what? Because he's drawing the Aeons apparently perfectly. Why aren't they working? What's unfinished?
So, what if somebody tried to use an Aeon spell or whatever the heck we want to call it,
Hmm.
um, and they somehow didn't write the one line or whatever it is into the Aeon, and then it spiraled down, and so all of the Elantrians are like basically dying, kind of idea, like they're husks of their former self, and somebody has to finish that one little line or something.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I think it's happening, and
Yeah.
like they're making no sort of connection of like, ah,
Hmm.
I can't.
Well, I think that's what Rowden's saying is he's like, what? Because he's just like, obviously
But
we're
what would
unfinished. Something's wrong. We got
Okay,
to figure out how to finish the transformation.
but there's a difference between saying something is wrong and trying to do something about it, whether it's gonna work or not.
But I don't know if he's
Cause
figured out exact. I mean, we're gonna get to the part later, but like they find more books. Like maybe he'll. You think he's gonna figure out what's wrong?
or what
cause
they tried to do? Yeah,
well,
maybe.
he knows technically he knows what's wrong because he says that the dude that did the magic thing or whatever forgot the specific lines that he
I think he
No,
said he forgot a
no, he was
line.
speaking of somebody. No, I think he was speaking about something else, though.
Yeah. So
He was
this
speaking
was
about the fact that she was one of the people, the Elantrians, were trying to uh, do something like a spell, and
they were doing
then
a
they
healing.
just forgot one line,
Yeah.
and it ended up having a bad effect.
Yeah, and this was noted in a book from before the whole thing happened where all of Elantris went down. So this is like when when Rowden went in to get his leg healed, it would be like if when he went in to get his leg healed, this other woman went in to get some sort of disease healed. They didn't do one of the lines in the healing Aeon, and for some reason instead of just not working like their Aeons are, like instead of just fading and doing nothing, it for some reason caused this like blotchiness and her to basically become this like fucked up Elantrian, and then she killed herself. But normally, he says that like an unfinished Aeon should just like not work.
Hmm.
yeah. So
So that one case wasn't what caused the whole thing. That was just a case that caused Rowden to be like, wait, this is exactly what happened to us.
Yeah,
So
but
why? What's
that's the thing,
happening?
right?
Yeah.
So, what if they were trying to, I don't know, become immortal or something? Like, and so this person casts a single spell and was attempting to cast it on all of Elantris, and then
Hmm.
that just
I,
created this spiral effect of now they're all half Elantrians.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Yeah,
What if because you guys are thinking that like that's not like the cause, but
Well, I
that
was
I
saying
doesn't
don't
that
mean
think
one
it didn't.
specific
I don't think
case
that
wasn't.
specific one was the
Yeah,
cause.
Yeah,
sorry. It
but
sounded like you were talking about
that
that one
does.
specific person, but this is
Yeah,
obviously.
no,
Yeah.
I meant like in general. Like that could
Okay.
be like the thing that started it in
Yeah.
general.
Hmm. I'm still going on the theory though that the Aeons or no,
The
what are the
seance.
little balls of the little balls of light
Hmm.
did something that caused the whole thing.
So you think somehow maybe that like the seance caused this like
Yes,
incomplete
caused them
magic?
to be incomplete, like in some way, shape, or form.
Because I think maybe it was more Darkness than you, but I think Darkness had said before that he thinks like the seance are somehow connected to who gets chosen to
Yeah,
be
I
an
was gonna say,
Oh,
Elantrian.
I
what if
don't know
it's like
about who's yeah, I don't know about the who gets chosen part, but I just like yeah.
I was gonna say, what if it's like some like second life sort of shit where um if you have a Seon, you get like you know a chance, and then that chance is you becoming that. Like what if they adjusted the thing that happened, that accident, and then
Okay,
somehow made
so
it
here's the
connected
thing.
to
Here's the thing.
Seon.
With what we just read in the very last chapter, it could be seen immediately if your theory is correct, Darkness.
Yeah, I think what Mythic is getting at, because we will get to this later, but is Harathan in the next episode going to become an
Yeah,
Elantrian?
because that would be interesting.
Wait, I didn't even think of that
Yep,
because I forgot he
I
had a
did.
Seon.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
thought about it, but I didn't think about it because of the Seon thing. I just thought about it in general. Because I don't feel like people should be. I don't feel like they get killed off that easily unless it's near the end of the book, and we're not near the end of the book yet.
Huh, that'll be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, we should continue with this chapter. Maybe talk more about that at the Harathan chapter
Mm-hmm.
at the end
Yeah.
here. Um, so where was I? Yeah, so after that kind of revelation, Rowden then asks why Galadon seems to want to know why his books are of use and why he's so protective of the study. He also notes that Galadon seems to know Elantris extremely well for someone who claims to have only been there for several months. Rowden eventually feels embarrassed for asking Galadon so many questions, though, when Galadon asks if he can keep nothing to himself. However, Galadon does end up explaining, which I thought this part would really interest Darkness because he's been all about like Galadon's hiding things. Galadon's not who he says he is. So I was excited for you to read this part. So we learn that Galadon's father was actually one of the Elantrians from before the Riot and everything went down. So Galadon had apparently lived with him until adulthood, and the study and home that he keeps going to had been his father's. So apparently his father was a scholar who mostly studied farming, but it was pretty useless in Elantris where you can just turn garbage to food. He was kind of like an outcast, like he didn't feel like he fit in to Elantris very well. And apparently one day his father woke to his mother dying, a disease that struck so quick that even the Elantrians couldn't heal her. So apparently they can't just magically heal everyone. If it comes on super fucking quick and you're like, I guess, too far gone, they're like, yeah, there's nothing we can do. So his father became the only depressed Elantrian that Galadon had ever seen, but couldn't leave as even the Elantrians weren't wanted. Even then, the Elantrians weren't wanted outside the city as people didn't like being around others that were superior to them. Galadon eventually left to become a farmer, and his father eventually died of heart death, choosing not to have it cured. Galadon also notes that because he grew up in Elantris with a depressed father, he isn't the normal lighthearted doula, which Rowden kind of had kept mentioning in the past. And Rowden ends their conversation saying he values Galadon's help, and he's one of the reasons New Elantris does so well. So what did you think about Galadon's past and his father?
I knew he was an Elantrian.
Well, I think you had thought Galadon had been an original Elantrian, so Galadon never was an
That's
Elantrian, his father was.
No,
I, that's
he's
what
an
I
Elantrian
thought.
just simply because of his father. So.
Yeah, no, that's what I thought, that he was like, like original Elantrian,
Mm-hmm.
and that he was far older than we thought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't expect his father to like come into this like at all. But yeah.
Yeah. So apparently the reason why he's so knowledgeable, especially about Elantris and just studies in general, is because he grew up with a scholar father. And I guess his father's love of agriculture is what made him want to go become a farmer. And he got cursed to be an Elantrian after the Riot all happened.
I mean, is it a curse or is it a blessing?
I mean, at this point it's a curse. If they can fix it, it might be a blessing, but currently it's a curse.
Well, if he had never been cursed, then he couldn't be the blessing that Rowden needs.
That's true.
So I think it's a blessing.
Mhm.
So we then skip to nighttime, and Rowden is struggling to sleep. He's been thinking about trying to his brain been trying to make a connection regarding his conversations with Galadon earlier and his like Aeon practicing, when it suddenly comes to him, causing him to exclaim loudly. His friends rush into the room quickly to see what's wrong, but he pushes past them and heads straight for the Hall of the Fallen. He goes up to a Hoed who is mumbling about how beautiful things once were. So before we kind of get to the revelation, did you kind of ever catch that this guy maybe
I
was Lantrian?
I I I did, because of how like he was talking about it was beautiful or whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, why would he be focused on solely that, and why would they point it out of all things? But I didn't think it was like I didn't think it was like um how do I say it? Like I didn't think he was like an Elantrian. I think he was like someone that was like that was there at some point
You thought maybe he was like someone who lived
when
in
it was
K,
like,
maybe visited Elantris a lot?
yeah, uh-huh.
Nah, he's
Mhm.
just crazy, man.
So yeah,
He's
so
just out of his mind.
so Rowden tries to get the man to speak to him, and eventually just draws an Aeon in front of the man. And he seems to become more lucid once he sees the Aeon being drawn. And he says he and the Aeons had been so beautiful, causing Rowden and the group to realize this man was an original Elantrian. Resh is shocked, and Rowden asks where the fellow Elantrians who hadn't killed themselves had why does this sentence seem to make no sense to me? Where the few Elantrians who hadn't killed themselves and had been locked inside Elantris would have gone. They must have become Hoed. They must have, like, if they were locked in here and didn't kill themselves, like, where else would they have gone, right? Um, So yeah, so there was apparent. And do you think there's gonna be other like original Elantrians here?
100%.
I think they might learn more from them.
Would it? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure.
Sure.
That makes sense.
Just curious if you guys thought they'd come across any other ones. So the man then asked to be taken out to the lake. Routing, Galadon, and Kratos, they don't really know what that means, but they slowly make their way through the city as Routing carries the man and tries to figure out where the man is leading them, as he can barely even point, he's so weak. Eventually, they end up at a building near the edge of Elantris that Galadon says was a meeting house for Elantrians that he had never been let into. And also, Kratos like, "What the fuck? What the fuck are you talking about?" But she doesn't say anything. she's just like giving them looks like there is
Yeah,
something.
because this man just starts giving away information
Yeah, and
while everybody's around him. That's so. I was like, wait, what?
well, I think it's just the three of them. So I think he's kind of just
Yeah,
like,
but
yeah. She's like,
this
"I
man
am
is trying to
out of the
hide
lake."
information this man hiding information the whole time, and then all of a sudden he's just now giving it up.
Yeah, and
Well, to be fair, he already kind of like was like fuck it and told him. So
Yeah, he told Rowden though. He didn't. What?
he's just been like, "Fuck it" at this point.
Yeah, he's like, all right, well, fuck it. I guess I'll tell everybody now.
him and Routed are just really bad at keeping secrets.
Apparently, well,
Once
Rowden
it,
just can't keep secrets because I mean, she was just smart. But
so the man asked to be. Oh, sorry, I was there already. Once inside, they find a large Aeon Rao in the center of the floor, and Karada opens it by pressing Aeon Te, meaning open, on a wall nearby. But Galadon thought him just like shoving it on the floor was what made it work at first. They're like, yes, just shoving on the floor is gonna help. Below the floor are steps leading down, and downstairs they glance at murals on the walls and they note that it seems like a holy place. And Rowden thinks that the Elantrians weren't as convinced of their divinity as others. They also see a picture of a man flying into a blue oval, which the Hoed calls a lake. And Rowden asks if Galadon had ever seen an Elantrian funeral before. So, what do you think the Elantrians worshipped?
the kiddie pool.
I mean, I have no idea what they worshipped. Well, but like,
Because everyone else called them gods, but like obviously they didn't call themselves gods. Do you think they like worship Domi? Did they worship something like Yesker, like Galadon does, or did they worship like something else?
what if it was that flow thing that one dude was talking about?
The door,
Yeah,
the door that comes through from the other side, something like
yeah.
the,
What if he was like? What if they were like worshiping not a god or like stuff like that? What if it was like an idea like that?
if they worship kind of like the thing that causes their magic type thing, like whatever that force is or
Hmm.
whatever.
Yeah.
That might make sense because like they're it doesn't seem like they're the cause of it, right? They're just like they can access it using these
Mm.
like drawings in the air. So they then go further into this uh, area downstairs and find a room full of books and no slime. There are also lanterns on the walls. They note that Aeondor must have been forbidden, and somehow that means no slime. They eventually make. So first of all, what do you think that means that there's like no slime where there's no Aeons on the walls?
No magic means no curse.
Also, why do you think they didn't want to use Aeons in this place? Like why when like they used
Because
Aeons everywhere else?
you know what I think it is.
Hmm.
They cursed him
I think that place was more like of a, how do I say it?
with words.
Okay, we're almost there. I think that place was more of like take your dead sort of place.
They did have all this basically like library down there though as well.
Yeah, but I mean like,
Yeah, the dead need to read. Duh.
I mean someone has to attend to that place, right?
Mm-hmm. It's just like because I think Rowden says it seems like a holy place, and he's just kind of confused about like why would a place they consider holy like they not use their magic.
That's like I was thinking more of like maybe it's just disrespectful.
Mm.
Like more of like the Because if I have this thing where it's like, I think they were like taking the dead down that passageway, which they later go into, right?
Hmm.
And I don't want to get too into it yet, but um, I think it would be disrespectful towards them.
So you just think it was like a religious or cultural thing where they're like,
Yeah.
we need to
Hmm.
keep this place like simple or something?
Yeah.
Hmm. Did you have any other thoughts, Mythic?
Magic bad.
Okay. So they eventually make their way out through another door that I believe the Elantrian man points out, and then end up having to go up a mountain, which they can see like Kay and the like other cities that were abandoned that were surrounding Elantris. Elantris is so big that like 4 cities surrounded it. Just want to point that out again. It's a big
Hmm.
fucking place. Um, and so yeah, they have to take frequent breaks going up the mountain and switch who is carrying the man before making it to a pool of crystalline blue water that only looks to be about 10 feet deep. Uh, and so once they're there, they place the man in the pool, and he lets out like a really loud sigh of relief that causes Rowden to also wish he could just like go into this pool, like be done with his pain and everything.
Do
Um,
it. Do it,
and
Rowden.
and then he dissolves into the water.
Yep.
So
In
what
the
do
kiddie
you
pool.
what do you think this pool is?
A kiddie pool.
I think that's where I think that's where they dissolved all their dead.
I mean, it's better than having like them buried in the ground.
I'm saying it's like they wanted to keep up not just that, but like they not just like keep up an image of like maybe to the outside world they're like these like holy beings or whatever.
Hmm,
Holy beings.
they're beans.
Uh, yeah, and they just didn't want them to know and stuff, and also out of respect, like as Mythic said, it's better than just burying them in the ground.
Hmm. So then, before they go, Rowden asks Galadon to promise to bring him here when he becomes a Hoed. Galadon agrees with a worrying glance after joking that Rowden was still young to Elantris. He makes a joke at first, and then he's like, "Wait, you're serious? Okay, I
Well, I
promise."
mean, think how could you promise that though? Doesn't he believe he's gonna be a Hoed before him though?
Well, yeah, I think that's why he jokes. He's like, "You're still young to Elantris. Like, what the fuck you talking about?"
Yeah, but like that's what I'm saying. Like,
Well, I
I
think
don't
because
understand
Rowd,
why he would agree.
yeah, well, he obviously agrees because he's like Rowden's pretty serious about this, but because Rowden feels that his pain is gonna come probably quicker than Galadon's gonna give in.
Mm.
But yeah, so Galadon seems quite worried. Um, and then chapter 26 is back to Serene's point of view. She's speaking with Ash and gets confirmation that Spirit is actually one of the gang leaders, and that some people are even saying he used to be Shower, which I think is kind of funny. Obviously, absolutely fucking no one knew who Shower is, except for the followers. And she notes that she was worried that she was beginning to trust Spirit and that he seemed honest with her, although now she knew that he had been lying because he was a gang leader. And she also does note that that he seems to genuinely care for Elantris. Do you think Serene is going to confront Rowden at some point?
In
For
spirit,
sure.
yes.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Spirit. Would you say
She can't.
Darkness?
She can't confront the dead.
They're technically not dead. It's been confirmed. No,
I meant like to her, Rowden
Yeah,
is dead. So
technically stuck
fair.
in a state of timelessness, as per
yeah.
Rowden's theory.
Mhm.
I think I think she is gonna confront like Spirit.
Mhm.
So we then skip to Serene watching the women practice their fencing. Apparently, they're also wearing like weird like skirt like things over their jumpsuits. And apparently, they're getting much better. Uh, Serene teases Iandel a bit, saying that he's saying they're getting better because she isn't teaching them much. And he gets a bit embarrassed, but Lugo's like, no, she's literally just teasing you. Like, don't worry about it. Because he's like, I would never. And Lugo has also gotten the notes on Iadon's finances. Apparently, he just barely will be able to keep from being embarrassed and getting kicked out as king due to the deal from Teod. They also learned that Eden, who had been the one who was struggling the most with the nobles, had fled the country after parts of his land had been affected by the mudslides, and apparently he's now heading over to Duladel. That was the guy who was like, as soon as tax period comes, like, I'm gonna be no longer a noble. My lands will be taken over from me and stuff. Because that's where the chasm was.
Mm-hmm.
So, that fucking chasm that appeared. Just like, fuck. He just got fucked over real bad. Um, so my question here was, do you think we'll ever see Eden again, or is he just gone for the rest of the book? He wasn't like
Gone for. I hope he's gone. I hope he never comes back.
he wasn't really the most important of the nobles. We didn't see him too much besides him just complaining about my lands.
Yep, hopefully he is somewhere where he'll become a farmer.
And do you think they'll be able to keep Iadon on the throne?
No.
No. Yeah,
Okay.
just no.
So Serenity then tells the women that they were to accompany her to Elantris tomorrow with none of the men to show that they are just as strong as their husbands, because only the one girl, Terena, had actually joined her, and she's like, "None of you are joining me. You're gonna
Here's
get your
my
asses to Elantris."
here comes my theory, right?
Oh, okay.
Now that all the women are there,
Mm-hmm.
those people are gonna barge through that barricade of people, and it's gonna be a attack on the women.
Mm.
Now that the weaker people are there.
You think that's when they're gonna get through? And it's gonna be a
Yep.
huge disaster?
Mm-hmm.
That'd be pretty fucked up. That'd be pretty rough.
Well, hopefully they all die except Serene, and then she learns never to go to Elantris again.
uh, so Serene also kind of makes some notes here about how she uh, ended up getting respect from the woman and the men of the nobility here, but like in Teod, she's not really part of their groups. They respect her, but the women don't really converse with her, and the men will never consider her a woman. She
And
says,
this
even though
is where Darkness lost interest in her.
this is where you lost interest, Darkness, where she's like,
Hell
even though I'm
yeah.
supposed to be
Yeah.
married, no one will ever consider me a romantic interest.
Mm-hmm.
Is that why what
I
you said
feel like
earlier, Darkness?
Darkness.
I think it's just a pileup of little things here and there that just bug me. So
Hmm.
uh,
But yeah, did you guys have any thoughts about the fact that Serene doesn't really fit in with the two groups? Do you think that'll change at all?
no, because she's gonna be the new ruler of this area. She will be the king.
What do you think, Darkness?
I think she should just slaughter them all.
Okay.
Kill them all.
She can't not be part of a group if there's no group.
Make a new group.
A group of the dead.
Yep, a group of Elantrians.
Hell yeah.
I mean, she's already got her husband there, so.
So Keen then shows up as pretty much all of his children are currently with Serene, apparently. And after some talk about Iadon and her trips into Elantris, Serene asks him about him and Eventio, which is her original father, not her father-in-law, if you remember.
She only has one father.
Keen refuses to say anything other than the fact that it was a disagreement. So Serene ends up having to switch the conversation to asking about secret passages in Iadon's palace. Kin says he's surprised if there wouldn't be any since Iadon is very paranoid. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
do you have any new theories about Eventio and Kin? The fact that neither of them will say anything?
Not really. I mean, they know.
Do you have any new theories, Darkness?
All my theories were, to be honest, all my theories were like magic focused.
That's fine.
Mm.
Just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, she asked so that she can get us ready for what is to come.
I'm just trying to ask some interesting questions, okay?
Yeah.
So Serenity then begins practicing fencing herself as she thinks about what all is happening. She thinks about how
Wait, she fenced in herself?
Yeah,
Oh no. Was
definitely.
it a white picket?
No, it wasn't. It was just plain wood.
Oh no.
So she thinks about how she needs to focus on Harathan and Telri, but her mind drifts to Spirit and she wishes she could talk to him more openly as he seems like one of the few people who treats her like a person. Eventually, Daora comes up to her and implies that Serenity likes Shuden, which Serenity says she does not. But Daora doesn't seem to believe it's true. Um,
Yeah, we all know she likes him.
I mean, she says she has absolutely no romantic feelings for Shuden.
Uh-huh. Yep, sure. Sure she doesn't.
She wasn't even thinking about Shuden when Daora came over. You have any thoughts there, Darkness?
I feel like, well, to be fair, she was thinking about it after, so maybe there is a possibility, but there's other important stuff going on.
Yeah, she's gotta be her. She's gonna have to be with her Rathan.
Huh?
Oh my gosh.
they got a budding romance going, you know.
Do they?
No, you see what's gonna happen here. I got it all planned out, right?
Oh no.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Karathin and Dilaf are gonna go from enemies to lovers, and
Okay.
then Seren is gonna go with the queen and run away.
Okay.
Oh
Um,
God.
and Rauden is gonna get saved by Salin. They're gonna fall in love, and then they're gonna rule Elantris together, and then they're all gonna come back into Elantris, and they're gonna make one big court of magical people.
I see.
Perfect.
Yeah, and that's a lot of roosters on roosters and cats on cats.
Okay. So we're gonna move into our final chapter, chapter 27.
Yep, and ultimately the greatest chapter.
So we move to Harathan's point of view, who is completely shocked to learn that Iadon will likely remain king. He also thinks about how every single Artith has refused the head Artith role, except for Dilaf, who he has not asked, because I don't think he wants Dilaf to be head Artith. Harathan also notes that Dilaf has been wresting control away from him, doing a whole bunch of sermons and such without telling Harathan. Even the nobles have been deferring to Dilaf, and Harathan didn't have enough time with his other activities to keep control of the church from Dilaf. So what do you think about the fact that Dilaf is continuing to take control away from Harathan and pretty much take control of this church?
Well, I mean, when you don't have faith, you shouldn't be in control of a church. So
He should have already killed Dilaf. Like, why? Why are you still struggling?
because he doesn't want to kill him. He killed the whole other place.
Yeah, well the thing is he's been trying to deal with it. Like he tried to send Dilaf away. He's been trying to like take control back, but like he's got to
He was
deal with
gonna.
like
He
just
he he.
assassinate him.
Yeah, he was gonna like.
Well,
He
yeah, I mean,
spoke
we'll get to
about.
that in a second. He's obviously got a plan here. But anyways,
No, I
so
think he's oppressed. Is what he is.
well, yeah, he's something. He's obviously changed his mind. So Harathan then notes the problem of his wavering faith. He found once it had been brought up, he was struggling to not dwell on it. Harathan falls to the floor and gets onto his knees to pray. Usually he does more of a meditation, but this time he begs for help. And apparently he does this for several hours because I believe it says like by the time he like gets up, it's like dark out, and he's like, "What the fuck?" So what do you think is going to happen with Harathan and his faith? If anything, if Harathan doesn't just straight up die.
I think he's gonna straight up die. So then he's gonna become an
That's fair.
Elantrian. Become an Elantrian, and then
Well, we've got 8 more hours minimum with him. So,
yeah, and then his perspective will change. Man, it's gonna
on
be
his
it's gonna be
deathbed,
really
he'll be like,
it's gonna be
"Wait."
really interesting. It's gonna be really interesting. The whole rest of this book is all within 8 hours.
If that, imagine if that's actually how it happened.
Yep. The next 8 hours is the rest of this book. Yeah.
uh, So eventually his prayer is disturbed by a minor underpriest who brings in a box that had been sent for him. He gets up and opens the box, finding 4 vials of from Fortin. Originally he think
Poison
hmm?
of poison.
Jeez. So originally he thinks he wanted to give it to Dilaf, but instead he drinks one of the vials himself. Are you surprised Harathan drank the poison? Were you shocked by
Yes,
this?
yes. I'm hoping he dies. But honestly, if he doesn't die, he drank it for a good reason. Because whoever sent this to him lied. They're not. It's not poison.
What do you think,
What if
Darkness?
like what if, I was when I first saw that I thought like he was gonna when he drank it, I thought he was poisoning himself for like to like blame it on Dila.
Hmm.
Yeah, but how would that further his plans?
We'll see. I think yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean to be fair, he's losing his faith
yeah,
regardless.
yeah.
Maybe they'll send a
Because
new
he's super
Gjorn, and then
depresso.
suddenly we get point of view of new Gjorn.
No, depresso. He's gonna be depresso espresso, and then he's gonna become an Elandrian.
Yeah, I he's definitely becoming a Latchian.
So yeah,
There's
so
no way in hell
because
he
I
can.
mean, Darkness, and you guys were talking about that earlier. Yeah, do you think because he has a Seon, or just in general, he's going to become an Elantrian because he's going to die here? Because one of your theories was that, well, Darkness had the theory that like the Seons are partially involved, and I think it had also been brought up in the past that like they died anyways and then became Elantrians, kind of like the return from Warbreaker.
Yes, I think they just die and then become Elantrians. But I don't know. I don't think I think it would be interesting for it to be the Seance, but I don't know. I feel like there's too many Seance. There's so many people that were in Elantris.
I I I think it has to do more the fact that they had or have had. I mean, had or have a Seon,
Hmm.
and they're related to like past lanterns.
Yeah. Well, I think we know that the Seons come from Elantris and come from the same magic.
Yeah. hmm So I'm not saying that. I'm saying they could be a trigger for the like transformation,
Hmm.
but I think they definitely have to do something with it because I mean they wouldn't really have.
What
Yeah.
if, what if, kind of going off of Darkness's theory,
Hmm.
if they're not like having one isn't what causes it, maybe they're trying to save their masters, and then they end up just turning them into Elantrians because they're attempting to basically bring them back to life.
Mm, you
That's
think
what
that's
I
why
was
this?
saying about the second
Yeah,
life thing.
yeah,
So you think that's why the
uh-huh.
Seons get all fucked up too? Is they use their power to like
Yeah,
bring them back?
yeah, probably. Maybe they're trying. Maybe it's like instead they were supposed to meld with them, like become one, and what through whatever missed line, they're unable to like fully uh, meld in with their masters or whatever, and then so they don't become full Elantrians, and they also don't, they're still Seon, but they're crazy.
Hmm.
I mean, I still think watching one of them just like smack into a wall repeatedly would be fun, and I don't know why.
What if you were that Seon? Would you think it was as great?
Well, I wouldn't. I don't think I would be able to tell.
Oh,
So yeah, that was the final chapter. Just overview questions.
oh
Done with
wait, we're done with the book.
no, done with the chapters.
Oh, I thought that was like the whole epilogue
Yeah,
and everything.
you said that was the last chapter. I mean, I
The
don't know.
we finished with the chapters for this episode. Um, and so we kind of already went over my first question, which was more, do you think Harathan's going to die or not? So we've kind of already gone over that. So my next question was going to be, do you think Serene will figure out who Rauden is at some point?
Yes, 100%.
Or I guess who Spirit is.
Yep,
hmm
spirit's true identity.
Do you think she'll figure it out on her own, or do you think Spirit will tell her?
I think Rodden's just gonna be like fuck it and just lay it all out there.
I don't think she's gonna figure it out on her own. I think somebody's gonna tell her. I don't know if it's gonna be Spirit or somebody else, but
Hmm.
I don't think she figures it out on her own.
And so my final question was, what do you think Rowden will learn now that he's discovered all these new books and has this new theory about their situation? Do you think he's going to be able to
Oh,
figure things out?
How to become an actual Elantrian?
yeah, I was gonna say. Speaking of which, we were talking about how like food was gonna help the hood or whatever. I was thinking, what if like he becomes a full-on Elantrian and goes and actually helps heal them and stuff?
Can actually like use the healing magic?
Yeah,
Garbage into food. Eat, my friends.
and then he suddenly has an army of Elantrians, and the city
I
is
will
fully
clean the
functioning.
entire city with one spell.
I mean, yeah, they have to be a lot less worried about people invading them if they're all like proper Elantrians.
Gotta just take
Unless,
over the kingdom.
hear me
Mm.
out. Instead of becoming proper, quote unquote, proper Elantrians, they become a better version of Elantrians.
Oh,
New
He
you
re-
Elantrian.
improve them?
he rises in, yeah, for new Elantris. He rises into like Elantrian premium, you know?
Elantris
And then
2.0.
yeah, and
Elantris
like
Prime.
the final form.
No,
But
no,
like
no. Never the final form. They can always be better.
uh, but yeah, as I was saying, like what if like he becomes that one like form?
What
Hmm.
if you?
Cause,
What's the god?
'cause-
What's the god's name?
Domi?
Is that yeah?
Well,
What if he becomes that?
Domi is the one that Shu Korath kind of calls him.
No,
Shu Dareth
what's
uses Jadith.
Jadith? That's it, Jadith. Yeah. Okay. What if he becomes Jadith? He is the god.
y-
Interesting.
I'll, don't forget, please.
Forget what are we forgetting?
I know, I was gonna say something and I forgot.
Aw,
Was it about
sorry.
Domi or Jadith?
No, it was before that.
It was about Elantris Primes. Elantrians, roll out.
About the books,
It was
maybe?
something about that. Yeah, no, I forgot. Fuck.
All right. Well, is that it then? Are you giving up on trying to remember?
Yeah, sure.
Don't remember the moment the podcast is over.
Yeah, probably.
So yeah, so we're entering chapter 2 next
No,
episode.
we're part two, not chapter two.
Sorry, part 2. You're correct. Which is called The Call of Elantris. So the first part,
Hey, Elantris is coming back.
what was the first part called again? The first part was called The Shadow of Elantris. So this part's called The Call of Elantris now. And
This
it's
is
got
where
a
the people start
and,
rising up.
and the last one will be called the Elantris Prime.
I don't know if I can tell you what the last part's called. I'm
The
actually
ascension of
joking.
Elantris.
Yeah, Ascension. Yeah.
Tell you what the last part's called.
Elantris
It's,
Super Saiyan.
it begins to ascend into the sky.
It's the
There's
floating city now.
Where is the
Huh?
part? I'm kind of curious to know what the third part's called.
Yeah, tell us. Go ahead, tell us.
I was
What's
gonna.
the
Do it.
third part?
Do it.
I'm trying to see if I can tell you or not. Start something.
I'm gonna Google it. Hold on.
Don't.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
look.
gonna
Oh,
go
okay.
Google it too.
Okay, the third part. I don't think it's. It might
It's
be
a
a spoiler.
spoiler.
I don't know. I'm not gonna say it. Anyways.
What?
Uh.
No, that was so baiting. Ah.
Anyway, so this is called the Call of Elantris. It has a new Aeon at the start. So the Aeon for part one was just the symbol for Ella, which is what Elantris is
Ella.
name is
Ella.
based on, and the
Ella.
new Aeon is
Ella, A.
the new one is RA, meaning unity and cohesion. So it's about unity and cohesion, this next part.
Which is what I'm saying. This is the chapter where they all get together. Radin finally gets that little dumbass girl to get like together with them. Um,
Wait,
yeah.
what? Whoa. I didn't know it was that kind of a book.
So for next episode, you guys will be reading chapters 28 through 35.
40? Got it.
No, 35. That's
74? Got it.
no.
You put a minus there. It's supposed to be a plus.
Yeah.
It's 2, not minus. Anyways, so those are the chapters we'll be reading next time. We'll be getting 3 Rowden chapters, I believe 3 Serene chapters, and
no Harathan chapters because he's dead.
two non-Serene and Harathan chapters, or 2 non-Serene and Rowden chapters. I will not say if they're Harathan or if they're someone else.
They're not going to be
Lead
someone
off
else.
chapters.
They're not going to be someone else.
Yeah, they'll switch to Dilaf. I don't know. Maybe they will.
What if he's like, all right, get this bitch out of here. He's a
Probably be more interesting.
Anyway, so those are what we're gonna be reading next time. So look forward to it. Hopefully you guys will enjoy, and I think we're really starting to get into things. It's like, I don't know. I feel like this is when like Rowden, after like the last chapter with Rowden, this is when like Rowden stuff is like really amps up because you get more information now about like the Elantrians and their like their little lake thing and stuff, and that you know about the lake. So enjoy.
You mean the kiddie pool?
Yeah, the kiddie pool that's 10 feet deep.
Yeah.
You can stack 2 kids on top of each other and they'll still drown.
I say throw that little girl in there.
Shower.
Yeah.
Alright, so yeah, thank you to everyone who is listening. We really appreciate it. And please look forward to our next episode. Bye!
Bye.
Bye.